a few other bits of Fulham news this week. One of them involves someone that definitely won't be involved in Saturday's game is João Palhinha. Tony Khan was talking to TalkSport ahead of an AEW thing, I think. He spoke, to their Super Bowl show in Las Vegas. And he was randomly then quizzed on João Palhinha. He didn't quite say that he's open for him leaving, but he kind of left that door ajar of like, well, look, we're probably going to get offers in the summer and we'll have to listen to them. I actually don't think I've seen too many people that angry about what he said. Like, it's maybe a little bit like, I would have just batted it away and said we're not selling, etc. But you've got to be realistic here about João Palhinha, and I fully expect João to leave in the summer. So I didn't read this and get annoyed because I just thought, like, I have fully accepted that João won't be here next season. I know maybe others haven't, but to me it just feels like a formality.
Yeah, I didn't think there was all that much wrong with what he said, and there are plenty of things wrong with various aspects of people higher up the club speaking to the media at different times, and some of the comments and things that come out of the club. This one, I agree, it could have been batted away slightly better in terms of, look, we're not thinking about the summer until the summer. Would have been the easy out, right? It would have been like, if, the right offers come in. But, I mean, I think the official quote is, if an offer came along that would make sense for everyone, I think that's something you'd have to consider with every player at the right time. That's fine. Like, we've spoken about the fact that, to become sustainable, you need to be able to accept the fact that sometimes you bring in players, they perform well, and you sell them on for a profit. It's something that Fulham haven't done very well in recent years. And when you kind of consider how the club needs to be sustainable and what it needs to work properly in the transfer market, when, aside from Mitrovic, when was the last time we made serious profit on a player that we bought and flipped? The answer is not very often. And so to kind of look at these and think, well, you have to accept the right offer. Of course you do. Every club has to do that to a level, and it has to be the right offer. It has to be the right destination for a player to want to go there, etc. But I don't think in themselves there's all that much wrong with this comment. It just seems to have generated headlines which maybe far outstrip what the actual comments were. And that was the thing. Fulham open to selling João Palhinha is not what the comment was. It was Fulham will sell players for the right price at the right time if the correct offer comes along, which is how you run any sustainable football club.
Yeah. Where do you think, like, his next move is more likely to be? Because we now know that Bayern is chopping and changing. We don't exactly know what's going to be happening there in the summer. Thomas Tuchel is going to be leaving. I mean, they want Alonso. I don't think they'll get Alonso. Could be Mourinho. So I feel like Bayern now may... Yeah, Conte wants it, apparently, I think, as well. But I just don't know now if Bayern is that likely a destination. Is there a chance that, given that Palhinha is a year older, a year closer to 30, he's going to have a high valuation? It's not going to be massively attractive to lots of clubs because it's like you're paying top whack for someone that's not got tons of years left in the bank. I don't know. Like, as much as I'm kind of like resigned to him going, I'm like less sure where. But I said this time last year about Alexander Mitrovic. I'm sure someone might find the cash down the back of the sofa for him.
Yeah, I mean, the difference there was obviously the Saudi spending spree, which I don't think, and look, I could be wrong, and eventually money talks at high levels, and we've seen that with the Saudi Arabia project. But I think with certain players leaving, it's been a little bit of an uncomfortable situation for people now looking at that league and thinking, oh, do I actually want to go there? I think JP's motivation in all of this has probably been to try and challenge at the highest level and try and win trophies and compete in the Champions League again, etc., etc. So unless an offer comes in from a club with that kind of rationale behind it, I think that he probably stays put. And there is also the conversation around where his family are, if they're settled, and the noise around that seems to be that they are and they're happy in London. So it would have to be an offer to go and challenge at the top end, I think, to shift João Palhinha now. There was a lot of chat last summer, do you remember, about West Ham coming in for him when Declan Rice left? And at the time, I was like, I don't understand why he would go to West Ham. It doesn't make sense from a footballing perspective. maybe monetarily they could, shift Fulham out of the water there, but I don't think there's all that much in terms of the jump. And, it's the same reason Crystal Palace fans, the Bournemouth fans got really upset about Crystal Palace signing Jefferson Lerman. They were like, why have you done that? What have we gained from this move? And so I think that it then comes down to who has the capacity and the prestige to be able to do this. And a lot of clubs have one and not the other. I think Barcelona are crying out for a Joao Palhinha figure, but they have zero money in the bank. And then you're kind of looking elsewhere and thinking, well, are Liverpool going to whack £50 million on Joao Palhinha? Probably wouldn't add up to what we've seen from the FSG model. Are City? I don't think so. Are Arsenal? Not with Declan Rice in there. Real Madrid have a depth of defensive midfielders, as do Atleti. Bayern are a little bit in flux. Now, they have the money and they have the prestige, but whether a new manager coming in is going to want to pursue the same targets as the old manager going out remains a question. Look, Bayern still need a six, even with the emergence of Alexander Pavlovich. They still do need to bring in a player in that kind of mould, and I think Kimmich might be off in the summer, but I don't know if they're going to have the capacity to actually bring that through. Then you maybe start to think about PSG, perhaps. They've got Manuel Ugarte, hasn't played all that much in the Luis Enrique system. I don't see, unless it's Bayern, who's coming in that I think has the level that he wants to play at and has kind of had his head turned by. And you have to kind of bear that in mind. It's one thing having Bayern after you one summer and the next thing having a club from the tier below. Is that then going to be like, okay, I thought I was going to right to the very top and actually it's Borussia Dortmund in for me? And there's no slight on Borussia Dortmund by any stretch of the imagination, but is that move still the same kind of prestige? Because I don't think Borussia Dortmund could afford him, but
I guess someone like a Newcastle as well, like they might just about have the cash. I guess, it's obviously a much more illustrious club.
It would need an exit, I think, at Newcastle, and it would probably take someone coming in and them having to do a deal for Bruno Guimaraes to them have them turn their head for Joao Palhinha, I think.
Yeah, it's just one of those that's got me thinking, because I think I was just so resigned to him going, and I was actually like, the amount of clubs like that makes sense for you to leave to is running low. It doesn't mean it's impossible by any stretch of the imagination, but also, Jack, there's an element of like, do Fulham need some of the Palhinha money? To kick. I mean, I guess the damage that would be done by losing Palhinha, you'd almost have to spend a lot of that cash that you got in order to find someone that was even capable of lacing Palhinha's boots. But, should Fulham actually be actively trying to find a buyer for a Joao Palhinha in order to kind of make sure that we got the funds, make sure that we're starting to profit off players?
I think that there are going to have to be sales in the summer of some description. This is the really obvious one, but it doesn't need to be this one, if you will. It doesn't make this the only transfer that Fulham could do, the only deal that Fulham could do to move players on. And so I think it's going to be interesting to see what the strategy is, because it might be one really high-profile sale, a la Palhinha, or it might be a number of different sales at lower values that still can bring through that kind of profit value that we're looking for.